Hi, today we're going to talk about the topic that I want to impress upon you, which is don't chase avoidance. Avoidance are people with avoidant attachment styles, and I'm talking about children. You might have a child who's an avoidant. You might have a partner who's an avoidant. You might have a coworker, a boss, a supervisor, a neighbor who's an avoidant. And I really want to talk about why you don't want to chase them, why you don't want to get into this pattern. It's an easy pattern to get into, to slip into, to get triggered into, why you don't want to do it, the brain work involved, and there's a lot of other things you can do with avoidance. I'm not going to talk about that in this part, but I'm going to talk about why not to chase them and what to do instead, and from the brain's perspective and from your brain's perspective. So that's what we're going to dive into. And my name's Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and an emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in doing the helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And so the brain has a really beautiful process for that. That process can get blocked and stopped, and so we don't have it available. And so the longer it's blocked and stopped, the more symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress we will experience. And this is also the process our brain uses to create and organize and activate and make available our emotional intelligence. And so you'll also see us behaving in emotionally less and less intelligent ways. And so this little process, mind, body, brain process, is really, really important. And it's really my entire focus in getting that unblocked so that your brain is resolving your symptoms for you and building your emotional intelligence. And it is very emotionally intelligent not to chase avoidance. Um, and so I'm going to show you why and help you activate your emotional intelligence here. And there's lots of reasons why you do it. And so, but I do want you to understand that avoidant people are avoiding things. That's what they're doing. They are avoiding anything that would be distressing or painful, anything they have learned that their brain can't process. Remember that mind-body process that resolves symptoms, also creates solutions and works through things, gets blocked and stopped. And so avoidants are very aware that it's not going to do any good anyway. Like their system doesn't process it, so they avoid it. Usually with anxious attachment, you can feel that processing process isn't working and it's blocked and stopped. Usually anxious people are going to try harder to get something processed, but it's not going to work anyway. It's just going to generate a bunch of symptoms everywhere. Avoidance, no, it's not going to work. They don't even want to try. And so there's that. And they will avoid trying. And so they're, um, because they don't try to process things, it makes it very difficult for other people because they're like, well, I want to solve this problem with you. If we work through it, we'll be closer. If we work through it, we'll be stronger. If we work through it, you'll feel better. And avoidance are like, no, it does. I don't want to do that. And I can't do that. It's too painful to do that. And um, so I want to talk about the avoidant structure here. But I'm questioning timing. But I want you to understand avoidance are really trying to avoid that brain malfunction and the pain that's going to come inside when it starts malfunctioning. And I want you to understand that because they avoid problems, they haven't been practicing like an anxious person has, where an anxious for a person can get around the problem, talk through it, look around it. They've really wired a lot of words, and they've their ability to talk about things and give words to their thoughts and feelings is elevated. Like right there, they've built it out. Avoidants have not built that because they don't even want to try. They're like, I've already touched that hot burning thing and it burnt me and I don't want to touch it anymore. And a lot of times, especially with avoidant attachment disorders or challenges, um, the people that were designed to help this brain process stay open were actually the people that made it worse, were actually the abusers, the neglectors. Maybe they had good intentions and they were just they just fumbled and created pain for that avoidant child. And so that child is just shy about addressing things that are going to make that pain happen. And um, and anxious people felt safer connected with people. They felt like they could handle things connected with people. Avoidant people felt like people made it worse. So I'm just staying away from all of y'all, right? Anxious people are like, but togetherness makes everything better, right? And that's an entirely different neurological setup. And so when we are working in this dynamic, and this is a very common dynamic to have an avoidant and an anxious person together. Without an anxious person, avoidance probably would not have anybody. It's like an introvert, like you get adopted by an extrovert. Avoidants get adopted by anxious individuals. There's really opposite skills, and it's the opposites attract kind of thing. Also, avoidants are really great at stabilizing and um, uh, being stable and consistent and stabilizing mental illness. So they can be very mentally ill, but you don't really know because they're stabilizing it. And they're very good at this. So if you have a raging anxiety disorder and you're an anxious attached person, it can feel very comforting and stabilizing to be with an avoidant because of the skill at stabilizing. So you feel all stable with them. And neither are less mentally ill than the other. One is just good at stabilizing it. One is good at talking about it. One is good at making connection. One is good at avoiding connections, right? So there's this push and pull dynamic between this partnership, and it's incredibly frustrating if this is your partner. This can be heartbreaking if this is your child. This can be annoying and things people go to war at in the office if it's your boss, right? This is a very challenging dynamic, even though we're drawn to these. So there is there, and so an anxious person with a more anxious setup really wants to help and make things better with the avoidant, and so they go towards the avoidant. And the avoidant says, whoa, I don't like closeness when I'm distressed. And so they take a couple steps back. And the avoidant, they know that because their system says being close helps. So they take steps forward. And the avoidant is here. And this dynamic grows and grows until you next thing you know, the anxious is chasing them and the avoidant is running at high speeds. And they are creating just a mess of pain and hurt and rejection for each other and distress, high levels of distress here, and it never works. Okay, let me not say never. That's a big word. This is a very painful strategy, and it usually doesn't work, and it just makes more and more chaos, and people usually begin to avoid conflict with each other. But they'll do this chasing in other locations. So, um, also, I can't tell you how many parents I've had that have avoidant children, and when they come, I can remember one case, one family very clearly. They came in and they were just really trying to understand this child, and they were asking him a question, and then there would be a pause, and they'd ask the next question, there'd be a pause, and they'd ask, and and you could see the child becoming more and more rigid and more shut down, and you could see the parents getting more distressed. They can see the distress, and so they're getting more and more distressed, and they're asking more questions, and they're really trying so hard to get connected, and they're making it worse. And so they're failing, the child's failing, the child's like, getting more and more upset, more and more, turning more and more robotic, more and more stiff in their body. And I had to be like, okay, time out. Time out. With these good intentions the parents had, they weren't reading the cues of the avoidant child well. And the thing about avoidance is they need space to process, right? So I worked on creating space for this child and acknowledging and showing parents cues. Do you see the body language? Do you see the rigidity? This child is extremely distressed right now. right? That means we're in a survival state. And so, and they think the child's just purposefully, willfully ignoring them, avoiding them, trying to harm, like, just they're interpreting this entirely incorrectly. And so they're not seeing pain levels, they're seeing bad behavior, they're seeing rejection. And that stuff's going on, and it's not, this is pain, this is the avoidance pain response. And so I've done a couple videos lately about don't feed your pearls to pigs, talking about um, you interacting with people when they are in a specific brain state, and when they're in a survival brain state, things to be doing then, using different strategies for different brain states. And these parents were using the wrong strategy for this brain state, and they were making it worse. They didn't understand. And lots of people, the desire to connect gets so big that you forget that we have to move at the speed of the ability to process and the survival system. And so we want to match that. Okay. I feel like I'm saying a lot of things, but I'm going to trust you're staying with me here. Avoidants are avoiding because of pain. Anxiouses are chasing because of pain, right? We're both in response to pain. This is a pain response. We're actually experiencing the same thing. And usually, and that's really frustrating because you want it like who's right and who's wrong. And it's usually like everybody's dealing with the same exact pain, the same fear, the same hurt, the same rejection. They're just doing different strategies with it. And that's what creates this dynamic. Um, and I'm making this video because I have both anxious and avoidant clients. With complex PTSD, you're going to have an insecure attachment style at the early parts of your healing phase. And we have a style. And so it's really important to get to know this style so that you can support yourself, you can support it, and you can support your relationships, and you can build strategies for your style. Okay, so my anxious clients have partners or children that are avoidant, and they get in tangles with these people, and they're getting entangled with them because of their own pain, their own insecurities, their own worries, and their desire to create health and wellness and to have peace and bliss and synergy. But that desire, because they don't understand this dynamic, goes amiss. And this is not really a video for avoidance, unless the avoidant team is like, yeah, stop chasing us. And now they have flags and banners, right? So this is not that video. I will make that video. I'm going to talk about them in a second because I want you to see what they're doing and what they need to do to accomplish the tasks to be healthy and well. And so, especially if you have children, you're going to want to walk your child through these things, and you're going to want to do it without chasing them. And you're going to need to do all of these healthy relationship things without chasing them. And with 100% of my anxious clients in relationship to some avoidant, this is absolutely triggering to their deepest core attachment wounds. So in this space, we get to really rework that. We get to rewire their attachment wounds. So secretly, as a therapist, I'm going to step out here for a second and tell you, therapeutically, this is wonderful to find my clients chasing around avoidance. It's fabulous. This is exactly where we can help their nervous system really learn to build internal senses of security and to heal the attachment wound. So I'm here for it. I am completely here for this. And I also understand this is very painful in real life. Okay. But I want you to know, chasing an avoidant is great because you get to heal right here. This is where you need to heal. When you heal here, you have access to so much more in functional intimacy. You have so much more access to emotional intelligence. You have so much, you get control of yourself in ways you never thought you could. And this work right here does not take a ton of time. And this is so empowering for anxious people. All of a sudden they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that dynamic anymore. I'm free. I'm not compelled. I'm not under compulsion to fix it right now. If we don't, it'll be over, right? They get so much freedom when we work through this. So I am all here for chasing avoidance. I mean, therapeutically, it's wonderful, and it's a habit that really needs to stop. It's really it's evidence of mental illness under the hood. Okay. And this doesn't let avoidance off the hook. It does not. I promise you, it does not. It actually puts them on the hook. If your mental illness is blocking you and all your symptoms of anxiety and anxious attachment are riding you and going, you don't even have room to hold space for their mental illness, right? But we're going to position you to. We're going to heal this, and so that you can be in position to, especially if you've got an avoidant child. I want you in position to help your avoidant child to get on the hook. And that's how it usually happens. Spoiler alert. Avoidant children usually get this attachment style because their parent is so focused on their own mental illness, there's no room for the child. And then when the parent who is so anxious turns to set eyes and attention on the child, the parent's anxiety and distress is overwhelming to the child, and the child ends up shutting down, shutting out. And so it's really disempowering as a parent to have this running as well, because you can't actually help your child. You're actually going to make it worse. And so this is where we work. And this is one of the things that we overhaul as soon as it's ready. And sometimes this is the first project for people. Sometimes it's one of the last projects for people, whatever, anywhere in the middle. But a lot of it's so empowering. It's so empowering. And when I get to watch my clients that were in this anxious dynamic with their child or their spouse, and all of a sudden they overcome this, they just feel so empowered. They're able to see so many new things. They're able to talk with the avoidant in so many different ways. They have so many choices. They don't have to do anything. It's liberating. This is so liberating. And it's really fun to watch. And the relationship with the avoidant begins to start to heal and unfold and take some new steps. It's not the same pattern. It's not the same cat and mouse that avoidant and anxious attachment styles can become. And so it's really, really awesome. So I love that. I love watching them get free of this neurological trap and this dysregulation amplifier, right? And be able to stay grounded and present and show up effective and efficient. And it's good for everyone. So I love that. Okay. I want you to, I'm going to list some things that anxious people chase people avoidance around with. And I want you to just not do that anymore. But please understand that if your processor is not open and running while you're distressed, when usually it's not, that's why we're using specific interventions in that moment to influence your survival system, to allow the processing and healing team to run instead of shutting them down. So, but if you don't get that and it's just head knowledge, you won't be able to change this behavior. So there's quite a bit of your inner work to do here. So it's not, I'm not just saying, now that you hear these things, you're just going to stop doing it. No, now that you hear these things, you're going to be aware that you're doing it. But you still need to do the nervous system regulation work, the processing, the healing, to let your mind body system go through its process for not chasing the avoidant. Right? We want your nervous system to say, this is ridiculous. What are we doing here? And to rewire. And you will watch it show you that we don't need to do this anymore. In real time, you will watch chase-worthy events occur and you will not chase them. Okay, so I want that for you on that level. But I'm going to tell you about this because this is good and it can help, and it's part of the process. Knowing is half the battle, right? Okay, don't chase avoidance with the truth. I promise you, You could say the truth to a dysregulated person and they could deny it 3,000 times, 4,000. And so, because they're not in a brain state to do anything different. And so, you'll say it and then you'll try to say it again and then you'll try it. And then next thing you know, you're over explaining. Next thing you know, you're convincing. Next thing you know, you're trying to prove it. Next thing you know, and you're here. And the other person, the avoidant, is denying, 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 deflecting, deflecting, which is the skill set that they have. And they have lasted through a whole childhood of this. So, I don't know if you want to play with that because they're very good. They did not make it through their childhood with weak skills. Like their ability to deny and avoid and to do the things is astronomically high. So you don't really want to activate and tangle with that, right? But it's so tempting because you're like, what are you talking about? This is the truth. And it can be very confusing, but you're talking to the survival system. The survival system is not a thinking center or reasoning center. It doesn't care about the truth. Its only priority is keeping that person alive and safe if it thinks it's in danger, which it does. And avoidants are in danger in their intimate relationships, thanks to a childhood, developing this thing in early childhood with their intimate partners, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings, right? This was here long before you. You can't fix this. They get to fix this and they can fix this. That's really fun. That's a video for another time, but that is awesome. Okay. But don't chase them with the truth, no matter how tempting it is, and no matter how yummy the truth is, how excited you are about it, and how confused you are by their inability to accept the truth. Don't do it. Don't chase them with what's right. And that's really tempting. Say it once, leave it there, right? And then I want you to check in your nervous system and see what's going on. Check in your body. Does it make your heart race? I want to do it again? Where's that urge? Where's that? I need to say it again. I need to over explain. I need to do all these things. Check on that in there, find it, and use your interventions. Regulate your nervous system. Acknowledge these things, right? You might find yourself, because this is a training thing, where it's a processing thing and a training thing. And so all that distress needs to get processed, and then we need to give the nervous system experiences, not chasing. Oh, we chased. Why do we do that? Oh, because of this. The nervous system needs time to work out and build a new program. It doesn't need a ton of time, but it does need some time. So we're going to repetition this out until you've got your program built. And this is actually a trip. I've got a couple clients right now, right in here, and they're just watching this stuff go on, and they're learning so much, and they're seeing so much, none of which they could see before because they were too distressed and too busy chasing. And now it's a really powerful spot. Okay, do not chase the avoidant with accountability. You need to apologize. You need to be accountable. You need to do this stuff. I'm not accountability, accountability, accountability. Don't do that. You are right, and you're not going to get more right. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get health and wellness out of this by chasing somebody with what's right. Right has never created mental health. Rightness has never created relationship health. So let's put that on pause. You are right. You get to go put your stamp on that, and I'm right. Stamp it and set it to the side, and see what happens inside, right? But don't chase them with accountability. Don't chase them with what you need. And that's tempting. Don't do it. If you're doing it, it's because of your own insecure attachment. It's because your own, if there's some limiting beliefs in here. Don't chase them with what you need. That I don't want that for you anyway. I don't want you to have to chase people for what you need. I want you to be surrounded with tons of people that are so interested in what you need, so accommodating, they have so much room for you. They're like, yeah, the avoidant in the distress pattern has no room for that, and they need to do the work of getting themselves out of that brain state and get present with you. And they need to be able to have that time and space to do that work. That's hard. That's hard work. That's what I'm working with them on over here, is do your work. This is your push-ups. Walk toward your partner, knock it off. You're avoiding, right? Get in there, but not like that, right? Because their nervous system is going the other direction. So we're actually working on, why aren't you getting in there? And the nervous system will tell us everything. We're processing it. We're building the neurology to go toward the partner, because that's what they need to do. That's their work. Um, and they need to learn on they need practice asserting themselves. If you're chasing them down, they don't get that practice. They don't get the practice figuring out what they want to bring forward, having the courage to bring something forward, risking rejection, risking they don't have to do that work. And it's like you're coming for them, you're doing all their work for them, and they're not getting stronger. You're just building a relationship that's dependent upon you going in there and doing all the work. No. And on behalf of my avoidant clients, I don't want that for them. I want them strong and healthy. I want them able to pull from, find their inner world, find what's going on in there, their thoughts and feelings. That's hard because they've been avoiding it for so long. It doesn't have words yet, right? And so they need to go get that stuff from processing so that it moves through the word center. They actually have words for it, and then they need to go ahead and start communicating it. That's a ton of brain work, I promise you, and stuff that you may or may you probably don't have skill for. So there's no reason to tangle with this thing that you're gonna make worse for yourself and your partner. Um, and this doesn't mean you don't get to have needs. You do. I want your needs fulfilled. Okay. Don't chase the avoidant with what you want. That is also an exercise in futility. Do not chase with that. But I do want you to know what you want. I want you to be very clear about what you want. And you do get to talk about what you want. And there's a difference between talking about what you want and chasing someone down with it, right? And I want you to be able to learn to feel the difference in your body of when you're chasing and when you're talking and when you're sharing and communicating. They are very different things. And I don't want you to chase them around with these important, precious things of yours, like your wants and your needs. Do not chase the avoidant around to see your perspective. As awesome as that would be, that is a higher brain function and state. And not all brains can make it there. And that's the work of the avoidant. The avoidant needs to be working hard to see things from multiple perspectives. And so does the anxious. And because they need to be able to climb up into those higher brain states themselves and find stuff and turn on the lights and look around at that being able to see things from multiple perspectives. Also, that's a very not only high level of brain function that has not been built yet, but it's also very threatening to nervous systems. So you think it's an easy task, but it's not all that easy, and we need to build it. And so don't chase them around for that. You're chasing around something that is not available yet, and this is why these tangle ups are happening. Okay, and yeah, if we didn't have this mental illness here, we'd just be talking about these things, right? And that's where we want to get to the place where we're doing that. And the people chasing avoidance, it's not just anxious, it's also disorganized people, and other avoidants can chase too, and we go back and forth. But some of the beliefs here is if I can make them see, then they will change. There is no truth to that. There's no truth to that. There is something between the ears hearing and the brain's translating and the brain hearing. And you want the brain to hear. Just because the ears hear does not mean the brain hears. We have a filtering part of the brain that filters this stuff out and makes it invisible. We can't get to it. So just because you say things 1,000 times does not mean it was ever heard by the brain once. And so by continuing, no, you don't want to be in that trap, because now you're going to be on a rep number 3,000 and you're going to be more frustrated and drained and exhausted, and you're going to drain out all your things. No, we're not doing that. But if the avoidant person is processing, then they will not be able to not see eventually. And I can't tell you when that's going to be. Work with avoidance is usually very slow. You don't really see results on the outside for a while, because their dysfunction is so deeply within that it takes a while to get enough healing going on that you'll see the change. But by the time you see the change, there's been a ton of healing. Like, they are rocking. With anxious styles, typically the dysfunction is external. Right. And so we're working on that. So you can watch healing happening with an anxious person, and you can notice it, you could feel it, you could see it. And so it's kind of encouraging, right? For me as a therapist, I love it all. I can see all the little things in both players, but anxious, avoidant people don't always let people in far enough for them to see changes, and anxious people need it now, right? I need to see it now. I can't be safe until I see it. And it's like, how do you, and that's really the place where we regulate the nervous system, because you don't get to see with an avoidant. And right now you got to trust that healing's happening after all this time. And it with an avoidant, it's like planting a seed and watering it. And maybe you can only water it for 10 seconds. And then you're like, I need to see if it's growing. And you pull it out and you unroot it. And it's like, nothing's happening. Ah! Right. This is a neurological thing. This is distressing to anxious people. And it takes a lot of nervous system regulation to learn to water, and you're not doing the water, they need to do the water. It kind of, to trust the process. I don't want you to have to trust the process. Let me see if I can say that in a way that's helpful. Because trust isn't available for all anxious people. And so I want you to still be successful, even if you don't trust the process. And this is why I get people busy doing their own healing work, because you got enough stuff to do that if you're minding your own business, which is what I'm constantly telling my anxious people, to mind your own business. And that means actually put your mind on your business. It doesn't mean like your big nosy body. It means actually put your mind on your business. Go get the crane, and grab up your mind and put it somewhere on one bits of your business. If I can get them busy there, it will usually give the avoidant time to start building some things and coming out with the self, making some behavioral changes, connections, right? Because avoidants want to be connected and want a healthy relationship just as much as the anxious person does. And I know you might be trying to throw tomatoes at this video right now, but it's true. I'm looking around my brain. That's a big statement. I'm going to retract it. Because not all anxious people heal, not all avoidant people heal, because they just really they don't want to, they're not in a position to, they don't feel safe enough, they don't have access to the tools. I can't speak for all, but if you are working with this part of the brain and it is starting to process, you're going to heal. And most people want that, even if they're in a place where they believe it can't happen. Okay. If you've got, and I don't know which one is your partner and which one is your child, but if it's your child, there's so many things you can do to position them to heal and be well. And a lot of that starts with your own work. You working through your avoidance, you working through your anxiousness, your attachment wounding. And a lot of times that I've only seen it where the children really thrive with that. So that's what's going on. If we make these changes from the inside out, a lot of transformation will happen. So I don't want you to chase anxious people, avoidance. And I know that really feels not fair. It really does. It feels like it's not fair. I see people throw fits about this all the time. I want to throw fits about this all the time. I want to chase people down too. But I tell you that after doing this work for a while, I really have, I was just noticing, wow, I really have not been chasing people for a long time. I don't even have any desire. I cannot be bothered in so many instances where I would have. And I've still got some other areas where I'm like, I want to chase that person down. I'm aware. And that's my work, right? We're constantly growing. We never become perfect. And so, but can we create a 2% shift? Yes, we can do more as well and build the function where you need it. So master your life in the areas where you need it, like with your children, with your partner, and in other really important areas of your life. And like I said, there are other great things to do with avoidance, and I have some videos out. I made 5 videos on communication styles, strategies for overcoming complex PTSD, and I encourage you to watch those. Those are lots of tips and tricks you can absolutely apply with avoidance. And as you stop chasing them, you'll be able to. This chasing thing is a downhill spiral for everybody. And it only takes one partner to get out of that dynamic for the whole thing to transform. And so if that partner's you, let's rock. If your partner's person's your partner, great. Anybody who can get out of that. For the avoidant, You can get people out of this pattern of chasing you just by proactively sharing information about yourself that's vulnerable. That's the work of being intimate and asserting yourself, inserting and risking being seen. So, but you can be the one to get out of this chasing dynamic as well. And you can notice, and I hope maybe this gives words to you, dear avoidant, that they're chasing you, and this is why. And these defense strategies that you're putting out are part of the chasing dynamic. And should you put that down, uh, this dynamic really shifts. And I also want to share at the end of this video that I am avoidant, and that my natural style is to avoid. And so I'm really coming at this with that bias as well. And I've also had to do the work of becoming assertive and asserting myself. And I remember feeling how um, I feel like I'm being chased, and it's like, never having strategies for getting out of that. And then all of a sudden, I take a piece of my truth and I put it on the table, and the whole dynamic stops. And it's like, oh, that's how you make it stop, by being honest and vulnerable. Who knew? Right? And then learning about that. But when you're in the moment, you can't even imagine that this will stop. It's just the way life is, the way relationships are. But the truth is, you have a lot of power to stop the chasing as well. And then it's got to come from your health and wellness, and you got to take some risks. But I don't want you to do that at the wrong time, because honestly, avoidants have some serious inner work to do. And I want you to do your inner work. I want everyone to do their inner work. Okay? Because that's how we bring it together and create that synergy and that health and wellness and that abundance of love and all the good things. So thanks for hanging with me. I'll see you around. Take care. Bye. I'm going to not say bye, and I'm probably going to edit that out in a second. Okay, let me say this. I'm supposed to say the things. I teach 3 interventions for free on my website. I have a free program. I encourage you to dive into that and learn some things. Learn about the 3 interventions that are my favorite. Try them out. See what your brain does with that kind of support. It's a very different support. We're supporting a different kind of part of the brain, that survival system, and it's not a word center. So the interventions we use are very different. And they're weird. And they're weird on purpose, because we're actually doing different brain work than we would do in traditional talk therapy. We are doing the work to position your brain in a healing state, in a state where your executive functioning, your executive function option, you're a position where your executive functioning operates optimally. There's too many words, too many O words there. Okay. So, that's what we're really trying to do. That executive functioning team is the one that does your symptom resolution, your building your emotional intelligence, your mastery, your growth, and your maturation. We want that part running. We want to give it time to do its amazing work. And by the time we've got anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, complex PTSD here, your survival team is really running and operating things. And so we really need to influence it to spend time over here. And that's why we use these interventions, and we use them a lot, so that we can get your brain more time in the healing process and the regulation, the rewiring growth process. Every minute matters over here, because this is an electrical process, and there's a lot of electrical communication happening every minute. So we use these interventions a lot, up to 2 hours a day. I want you to try them out. Also, I have a program. If one of those interventions works for you, then there's a strategic process I've developed that I share with people, for ways to resolve these disorders, and layer by layer by layer. That's my program called Inner World Transformation. So that's a step up into it. That's the program I use with my therapy clients, all my coaching clients. It's the base of everything. And I want people to do it, because it really helps them learn how to do their inner work. And it helps them really help their brain heal in their life, not just in a therapy session, which is wonderful. But your brain needs support in your life. It needs support when you're talking to your child. Your brain needs support to be in that regulated state when you're taking a shower, when you're on your drive. You need strategies to be able to hold your brain in that state in the times you need it the most. I don't want you parenting from survival mode. I don't want you to have to do that. I want you to be able to pull your brain over in a regulated state. And maybe in the beginning, usually in the beginning, it's only a little bit, right? But we want to build it out so that your brain repatterns and starts living your life from a regulated whole brain state. Okay, we want to shift it out. We want it to learn to operate not in survival mode, but this other, and I have a process for that. That's available on my website, especially because I know there are many people that will never go to a therapist, or they love their therapist, but their therapist doesn't do this work. And so I want you to have an opportunity to follow a roadmap to resolve your disorder. Using help with supporting your brain and guiding your brain to do the work for you, to do the healing work for you. So also, for Oregon residents, I do therapy. For people outside of Oregon and internationally, I do one-on-one coaching sessions and small group sessions. Those are available on my website. You can learn more. All right. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.